Sanibonani guys, molweni, dumelang, absheni, ndao, and if you are in Copenhagen or Denmark or somewhere in Europe or somewhere out in the world, hi, welcome to my channel. My name is Zozo, and on this channel I share my journey on how a girl from Soweto left Soweto to come and ended up living in Denmark, but I also share some of the things that inspires me and like writing vows that I want to achieve and keep to myself. And I also share fashion tips on how to style one piece in different ways. And if you are a fashionista, I think you've come to the right place. And if you are a midlife person, woman who's trying to figure this thing called life out, then you're also in the right space. And if you're just simply browsing and looking for inspiration, you have come to the right place. Usekaya, nyakwamukela, sawubona. On today's video, I just want to continue sharing my journey on from Soweto to Copenhagen, Denmark. Denmark, Copenhagen, you could say. So I am geographically in Copenhagen and Northern Europe in Denmark. And in case you're wondering, I'm from South Africa and I'm from Soweto, and right now we are experiencing summer in Copenhagen, and in South Africa it's winter. So each time I speak to my family on the phone, they're thinking, why is it there's so much light in here? Excuse me, where you are? And it's like, yeah, it's because of the seasons are opposite. And excuse me, the summers in Denmark are just amazing. The light is just like non-stop, it's light until 10 o'clock. And then there's early light at 4 o'clock. And in South Africa, it's different. But the beautiful thing about South Africa is that there's sunlight throughout the year. And in Denmark, it's the opposite. You have 6 months of winter almost, and then 3 months. I call it 3 months or 2 months of summer, to be exact. Anyways, it's just in case if you were wondering where I am and how is the weather and the seasons, we're on the same timeline. It's the same time as in South Africa right now. And in winter, when we go towards winter, we switch the clock back, so we become an hour behind, I think. An hour behind South Africa, I think. Correct me if I'm wrong. Anyways, I just wanted to come in here and share about my journey. First, I want to share about my morning routine, because apart from loving to dress up and lipstick and just sharing about my life and journey overall, I also do love movement. As you know, I came to Denmark as an exchange student, as a dance exchange student, and I just love everything that is about movement. But I tend to gravitate towards dance, strength training, because now I'm 48 and you have to lift weights for strength. And I also do Pilates and yoga for mobility and strength as well. And then I also run. I used to be an Essex front runner. That will come another time. It's another chapter of its own. Right now, I am still sharing about my journey from Soweto to Denmark, Copenhagen. I have been here in Denmark for over 25 years. I came when I was 20, 21-ish, and I've been here for those years. I've got 2 kids, and Copenhagen is my home now, is my second home away from home. But I still consider myself South African at heart. No matter kanjani, noma kanjani, I'm still South African at heart. And South Africa will always be with me wherever I go. And mangikhuluma isiZulu, I just feel so deeply connected to it. So today I'm going to share my morning routine, which is coming just now. So every second day I do Monday, Wednesday, and Fridays I do strength training in the comfort of my own home. For personal reasons, I don't like gyms. I still hope that I will join a gym, but also in terms of finances. So instead of just waiting, why not start? And I'm very disciplined when it comes to my training. So I do a 30-minute to 40-minute training program of strength training, and that is like at the same, every day, every second day, and around the same time in the morning. I'm a morning person. And on every second day, which is a Tuesday and Thursday, I do yoga. I am a certified Kemetic yoga teacher, but I've also done Vinyasa and Hatha yoga. I love Hatha yoga. But once in a while, I teach all the 3 different types of yoga. But at home, I practice three different types of yoga, but now I've been gravitating towards back to Kemetic yoga because it's such a calming and gentler type of yoga, which is lets me feel connected with with my spiritual side of me. And this past Sunday, I actually was able to teach a community class for outdoor office based in Copenhagen. It's a running club for the youth, and I love being part of that, giving back to community, and also playing a part in influencing young people in terms of how important it is to move your mind, but also to to meditate, because running is amazing, but you also need to do something counter that, to find relaxation, to find rest, and you doing yoga and Kemetic yoga specifically, it helps you to sort of slow down. So that's what I do in the comfort of my own home. So strength training every second day, and Kemetic yoga or yoga hatha every second day. And then on Saturdays, I used to run on Sundays as well, but on Saturdays I go for long runs if I'm not participating in social runs, which are usually like 5K. And that's for me to keep to my vows of getting social, because I'm single and my daughter is older now, so she doesn't need me to be around as much. So I am flexible, and I use that time to get to know people, to get into spaces that I normally would not get into, but also just to enjoy the joy of running with other people, because I also do enjoy running alone. So that is a little bit about my morning routine. And for breakfasts, because I'm a woman who's going through perimenopause, I've discovered that it's very important for me to start my breakfast around 10. I'm really working on not eating before that because of I tend to experience low blood sugar in the morning. But when I eat at 10, I make sure that I make a big bowl of quinoa and some compote that I make at home. I put on some cinnamon on top for the blood sugar regulation, and then I grind my pumpkin seeds, my sunflower seeds, and then like just top it up with that, or the quinoa. And I find that it keeps me full longer. And then of course I am working on not snacking during the day, but also eating the next meal as the bigger meal, which is my dinner. And I eat around 6 so that I make sure that I have enough time to digest before I go to bed. And then I also do, and then we say in South Africa, we say, and then I go for walks, evening walks. So that's just a little bit about my training routine or just morning routine. And if you're wondering if there's anything that you would love to know, like how am I coping with whatnot, please let me know. And then getting back on why I am here. From Soweto to Copenhagen, Denmark. Denmark, Copenhagen. Copenhagen is the main capital city. It was a culture shock. That is the first point I wrote on my notes. It was a culture shock in a way that I've always been surrounded by black people where I came from, even though there are white people in South Africa. But my day-to-day was with black people, even though I went to train dance classes in white spaces, but my world was black. So for me to come to Denmark, a predominantly white country, and at that time, almost few people, and if I saw a black person in the street, the black knot, you don't find it necessary when you live in your own country until you get out, and then you find yourself as the fewer people in that space. So every person, black person or brown person you meet, specifically black people, you acknowledge each other. And that is just a sense of, I see you, sawubona. And that has been one of my survival, like just getting in community with other Africans in that diaspora. So that was a culture shock. It was a culture shock food-wise. It's a different, cuisine compared to South Africa. And our food in South Africa is full of spices and it's colorful. It was just the opposite. Without saying too much, it was just the opposite. And I'm not saying there isn't any fusion of, gastric fusion with influence from other parts of the world. It's become a thing now. But when I moved to Copenhagen in 99, yes, 99. That's like over 25 years ago. And food was a culture shock. Weather-wise, was a culture shock. I've mentioned that before. And culturally, Danes are very, very reserved people in general, and they usually have friends that go to way back to kindergarten. And in that sense, it makes them slightly closed off. If you are a foreigner, you can sort of feel like you're not part of something, like an inside, clique of some sort. So it's really, really difficult. And language wise, if you don't speak the language, you don't have the command of the Danish language, that also makes it a challenge. But for a while, people are very happy to speak English with you. And at some point, when people ask you, how long have you been here? And you start saying 20 years. And then it's almost like, there's a judgmental look of, so you don't speak Danish. But I mean, you people do manage with English. But for me, it's been very important to learn to speak Danish. And it's a personal reason. It's from a place of commanding respect and dignity for myself, and being able to speak for myself instead of having someone to always interfere, be the interlocutor. So it's just been very important for me. But it's not an easy language to learn. But for me, because I had Afrikaans at school against my own will, it sort of was the pre-door to learning Danish, because it's, if you have English or, some of those languages like Dutch, and it's a Germanic language, so it helps. So it's very challenging if you don't have that as your base or your background. So I don't remember how long it took me to learn how to speak Danish, but I remember that through all the 4 skills, I'm an English teacher, I used to be an English teacher. So the 4 skills are listening, writing, comprehension, and reading. I was very quick in reading because, I'm a visual person and I have a very photographic memory. I was very quick in speaking and mimicking, being like a parrot in terms of intonation and all that. And I was also very quick in understanding. But the writing, the grammar, it's like my brain just took a break and said, you know what, let's just take a 2-year or 3-year break where you sort of mess around with the rules of the grammar, because it's a lot. But I was speaking Danish, I was writing it, I was, with the grammar kindly intact, but still with a lot of grammatical mistakes and conjugation of the verbs. But you manage. And then later on, the written came as it's as if my brain's capacity of learning had reached a max, and it just couldn't take more information. So I had to process whatever that I had been learning by speaking and applying the language. And then all of a sudden, it seemed as if there was space. And this happened 10 years later, also because I was just exhausted. It's tiring to speak a new language and to learn a language as an adult. That's another thing. So culture shock in language, culture shock in food, culture shock in, society as at large, and culture shock in how people you come in commune, very, individualistic, whereas I come from a place where it's all about community. Culture shock in terms of the weather. And yeah, it was just and to be the only black, we were to be the only 2 black students at school, that was also a culture shock in a ballet class where anatomically I am completely different from the rest of my classmates. That was also a culture shock. And it felt like it was also an unfair comparison, to be compared to people who don't look like you in any shape or form or hue. And that was also a culture shock, because where I came from, I was part of the norm, to have a big bum and muscular thighs and a tiny waist. It was like, there were many who were like me, but here it was just the opposite of the body shape. It was, the beauty standards were different and set on something else. Long legs, flat bum, boyish figure, and I was just the opposite of those things. Straight hair, light pale skin. I was just, and that was also a culture shock to realize my blackness all of a sudden as the thing that stood out. That was the second thing, being the only black in the spaces that I was frequenting. And if there was, not being the only black, but very few of the black people that you could almost count. It takes a lot. It takes a toll on you mentally, physically, spiritually as a black person to always seek images that look like you. What happens automatically as human beings is that we see someone who looks like us, and there's a sense of feeling safe and being seen and recognized and feeling represented. And when you don't see that, it does something to you. I don't know what's the phenomenon, but if you're black and you've sort of been in white spaces as your day to day, or whether it's a workspace or whatever, you know what I'm talking about. You know, when you see that cis, it's just like you don't need to even know each other. It's just like an instant connection because you've been craving and hungering for it. So just being starved of seeing images that look like you. So that was another thing. And I think just also the third thing is just adapting to the Danish mentality. The Danish mentality, which is strongly lays its foundation on Yentelo. I don't know how I can translate that, but in the Bible, it's almost like the 10 commandments that sort of govern the society, unspoken 10 commandments. You should never think that you're better than anyone else. And it's all about, contributing to the common of the good. And, you hardly see the opulence, those who are like filthy rich to those who are like poverty stricken. Like if you go to South Africa, it's normal to see someone in the traffic lights, emarobotini, begging, with a child in the middle of the day in the heat, and then go to Horton, Sentin, wherever, and then you see opulence and just, plenty. That is normal. But in Denmark, you almost can't see that. Not that there aren't any rich people, but it's almost, and that for me was also something that was new. So this was the third part 3 of From Soweto to Denmark, Copenhagen, and my first initial experiences of coming here. And of course, some of those things that I've mentioned, I have adjusted and have changed and sort of accepted as, as long as I live here, then I just have to deal, nomaganjani, that's just how it is. Some I have to find ways of navigating. With regards to finding myself in white spaces, at the age of 48, I find myself, I'm at ease being around black people mostly, and even my friends are mostly black, and then maybe I have 1 or 2 white friends. But where else before, I don't think I had a lot of white friends. I had acquaintances because I didn't, and then one very best friend that I've known as long as I've been here. But now I find myself creating space for people of color and black people as friends, because I feel like we all almost have similar lived experiences. And so in that way, I'm able to articulate when I experience racism, and it's received in a space where, I'm taken care of, where else before maybe I've experienced, like psychological gaslighting. Like, you have an experience, a racial experience, and you tell someone, is like, are you sure that happened? Where else with the people that are my community, I'm able to share, and then they can sort of immediately, So, and that also helps. It eases the pressure. So this was the part 3 of from Soweto to Denmark, Copenhagen, and how I came here. And this is also related to the vows that I'm making now at the age of 48, that now I don't have to struggle with the language. I don't have to have someone holding my hand to show me, guide me around the society and all that. I am able to navigate the society myself. So, and my kids are grown, so that leaves so much room for me to self-evolve, to self-govern in terms of this is what I want to do, but also so much surplus in terms of this is what I want to do, I don't want to do that. I want to improve on that. I don't want to. Where else before I could not choose between learning Danish and mastering it or doing something else. My time and resources were spent on surviving and making it work here, whereas now I feel like, because I'm in a privileged space where I speak the language, I understand the language, I can write and read, and I can decipher the unwritten norms, unspoken, rules in the society, I'm able to not easily, but it's like not seamlessly, but navigate, pain free, if you can say it like that. Not always, but and that leaves time for me to say, hey, I would love to learn how to skate. I would love to improve my swimming. I started, but now because I feel like the energy is just overflowing, and I'm at a point also where I'm just like giving zero, you know what I mean? Because I know this is important for me. It's all about what I want to do and what I want to improve and how this serves me. And I guess that's why it sounds like women who are in the mid 40s, they're selfish and they're this and that. It's not that. It's because we know what we want and we're not willing to settle. We're not willing to negotiate, mold ourselves into fitting into, the size or whatever. We're just here with, with everything, our past experiences, our wisdom, our, body expanding, you name it. We're now just here and unapologetic. And I feel like I am slowly arriving. Whatever that I've been hearing my aunts talking about, that this is a different space to arrive as a woman, and I never really understood, but now I finally understand. So look forward to my part 4, the continuation of my journey from Copenhagen. No, excuse me, my journey from Soweto to Denmark, Copenhagen, and how I ended up being here still at the age of 48, and just everything that has been happening that has also been part of the growth here. If you've listened this far, I thank you for sticking around and really wanting to listen to this story. And don't forget to comment, and don't forget to like, and don't forget to share with someone who might find this inspiring. And don't forget to subscribe. Of course, don't forget to subscribe, right? And with that said, I appreciate you. And yeah, I keep showing up for myself, and I feel like you viewing this video just confirms that it's okay to show up in whatever shape and form I am. And the more I show up, the better I will be mastering whatever it is that I'm trying to create. So thank you for coming. And then I'll share with you a little bit about what I got up to this past weekend, Saturday and Sunday.